You are the legend we chose. I mean, you were there with your dream. All these people chanting your name. I mean, maybe not as hard as they're chanting Ike's name, but still, you were there. Greetings and salutations. My name is Deltran, doing builds for Roy, Brave Lion. You and I will go over his matchups, a few build options for him, but first, let's get his digits. When looking at a hero's stats, I like to see 42 or higher hit points and an offensive stat of 35 or higher, defensive stats of 32 or higher, and we missed the mark on all of these, but that's to be expected. We're dealing with a horsey after all. That tends to be the case. They have a lower BST than average because of their awesome maneuverability. One thing I do like to take a look at whenever I'm evaluating these types of units, though, I'll go ahead and say, like, oh, what do they look like with a single goad or a single ward cavalry on them? And but that ward on there, he has some nice defensive stats, but of course, with a goad, whoo, 38 speed, 36 attack, yeah, that's what we want to see. So let's go ahead and keep that in mind. As far as looking at his contemporaries, Roy here has the lowest hit points ever. I mean, if you count Seth, that's fine. I mean, to each his own, but lowest hit points in the category. As far as attack goes, everybody's bunching up. There's a lot of people who have Luke's attack, a lot of people that have Brave Roy's attack, and then, you know, there's a little bit at the bottom there. So, I mean, when it comes down to it, we're just no different than anybody else, is pretty much what we're saying. Speed-wise, we are the highest. We beat Kane by a little bit, and then we just sort of trash everybody else after that point. Defensive-wise, Xander is on here. I put Xander on here even though he's a Grand Hero battle unit, and I don't like to compare other units that you can pull to units that are limited time or of limited availability, but when it comes down to a lot of people will be comparing our boy Roy to Xander, so that's why he's here. And Xander of course, has an amazing defense, 11 more, 5-star than what Roy has. So, you know, we sort of crushed that. The only person he beats out in defense is his father, although 26 is not bad. It's still at the lower end of things. And then, of course, resistance, we are right underneath Ellawood, but you know what, when it comes down to it, we're really far below Ellawood. I mean, if we were just clustering people up, there'd be Ellawood and then everybody else. So that's sort of where resistance sits for us. Let's see what he swings with. Blazing Durandal, finally, am I right? Might 16 gives him +3 attack, so altogether you're talking about 51 attack on a neutral IV Brave Roy. If you get a minus attack, I'm sorry to inform you that that's not really good as far as IVs go, especially for him because he has a free heavy blade effect on here, letting him charge his cooldown a little bit faster whenever his attack is greater than his foes. That's great. He doesn't have the gimme killer effect like all the other Choose Your Legends banner heroes do, but this is good. This is workable, especially since now we have that cooldown 5 Gale Force staring at us. Gale Force is a lot of fun. It's a very fun skill, and what comes before that is Astra, and honestly that's also just as fun. Whenever you walk up to somebody that you shouldn't beat, and then you just whack on them for 50, 70, 100 damage without even trying, yeah, he has a lot of nice specials to work with. Steady Blow is unique on him. I don't think it's super unique when it comes down to it because we've seen this pattern before. Increasing speed and defense. This really is like a complete defense package. Of course, speed could be used offensively, but whenever you have that go up, that means that you could fight people who have been tricked out on their speed, and hopefully they're not going to W, which is nice, at least whenever you initiate on them. So you want to bring the fight to them for sure. In Desperation 3, with that wonderful speed, while it's not as good as a lot of the other Sword Lords that we look at on foot, as far as a horse goes, well, you saw. This is a wonderful speed. We want to take advantage of that, and Desperation 3 ensures that we could just keep on going, especially since we're going to be triggering Gale Force every other, if not every player phase. You need to have the Desperation there, otherwise you're just going to whittle away and die. Let's take a look at the obituary. 65, 6, and 97. If he's the target of the enemy, 12, 21, and 135. And it's not great, so we're looking at a player phase build here, obviously with Gale Force and with Desperation. All of that is pretty much speaking towards that. Regardless, we see several Sword Lords, we see a lot of the beefier reds here, we see a couple of people that we like to get, like Takumi and Kagero, not a lot of archers, not a lot of anything else, but hey, you know what? This is a decent lineup, and this is a little less than half, so you have a lot to look forward to. Couldn't help it but to make sure I put Eliwood and Lilina on here as well. As far as people who destroy us, the top row there are whenever we initiate on them, you know, let's go ahead and initiate on Matilda. That sounds like a great idea. Vanilla Ike Baby gets rid of us as well. And if you look down below, there's a swath of people that just sort of break us in half whenever they initiate on us. And, you know, there's nothing surprising here. It's a bunch of double tappers. It's all blue. There's one red there. There's Atharia there. I mean, it's just not... I hope that you would avoid these guys anyway when it comes down to it. So much to like here. I don't understand. I mean, oh, hold on. Let's talk about how to use his default kit. So, he has Desperation. He has a pretty decent score whenever it comes to speed. And he also benefits well from horsey buffs. He has Sturdy Blow, which is going to increase his speed. The idea with him is that you want to go ahead and just throw him at the enemy. Let him swing at people. With Desperation, he's going to continue to swing at people. And then pretty much every other round, maybe even every round, depending on how you manage things, and how you heal him, and how you protect him, he's going to go ahead and get the Gale Force off. And he's just going to be a dervish, just going all over the place. And when that works, it's fun! I didn't realize how fun that special was. I mean, I have a 4-star Cordelia just sitting there that I've been merging, giving pluses to, and I'm like, I don't care if she doesn't get her big special, whatever, you know, she performs just fine. Oh my gosh, it's amazing! So all you gotta do with Brave Ike, he gets that defensive bonus whenever he attacks, he has a good special, he has a good B slot. You just throw him at things. You can go ahead and inherit some type of horsey buff on his C slot, and you're done. He does well. He has okay matchups, and if you give him all the horsey buffs, he performs well. And that's sort of where I go into my opinion on him. He should be fun. But he's not for me, okay? Now, I'm not... Roy has never been my boy, but for someone who has been this popular in the franchise, I really think that they did him wrong, and it makes no sense. They gave him a wonderful weapon, they gave him, and with that bonus that it gives him, it should definitely compensate for the fact that he's on a horse. He should be not necessarily broken, but he should be able to redefine what you want to use as a horse, but no, you don't. Everybody's gonna still want Xander. It doesn't matter. Now, he's good, okay? Like, you're not taking Seth or Kane or I already said Seth. There's 2 Seths. Poor Stall. You're not taking any one of those over top of Brave Roy. But you know what? Eldigan's pretty much just as good when it comes down to it, even with his default kit. And Xander fills a completely different niche that if you're running some of the other big horse people, if you spent your time making a Cecilia, if you spent your time making an Ursula, or if you have a Reinhardt, or if you are like pretty much everybody and pulled a Brave Lynn as your free for the pools, then Xander's great. You don't need to have anybody who has a big hit. I mean, Xander could take a big hit from blue. You might need a defensive tile, but you know what? He could take it. Roy... he's competing, not only is he competing with all the Sword Lords, which is hard, it really is, but he's also competing with really good horse units. Now, if you pulled him and you don't have a Sword Lord or something like that, you know what? He's wonderful. Don't think that you got a bad pull. Please. Roy is fine. I'm just disappointed that he doesn't feel more unique. And honestly, I sort of put that on the fact that he doesn't have a unique skill. I mean, Blaze, his sword is finally good. I mean, people were complaining about that blade that Eliwood and normal Roy were wielding. I guess they just need to catch fire, and then it would be well. Everything on fire is better. So, he's good. Don't think that he's trash. As something that was a legend that was chosen by us, the people, I am a little let down. he's definitely the most boring out of the 4 that were introduced in that banner. And it's a shame because he is a good unit. I don't know, guys. That's where I sit on that. So look at some cheap upgrade options. Reposition, as always, I like it. I will give an honorable mention to Ardent Sacrifice. That 10 hit points will put him into desperation range really easily. If you're only playing on a simple PvP board, maybe you need to go ahead and have that acceleration so that you can take advantage of desperation and that increased speed from Steady Blow. Hone Cavalry, War Cavalry, whatever you can get your hands on. Putting him on a horse team will help out the synergy quite a lot there. He needs to have those buffs. Buffs. If you're deciding to not put him in that kind of a team, I like Threat and Attack just because it will increase the survivability a little bit. You can be more aggressive with him. He needs to have that buffer there whenever it comes down to it if he's not in a horsey team benefiting from a lot of horsey buffs. Last but certainly not least, I have a couple of builds for you guys that will bring him up and over into something a little bit more threatening. This one is just fun. It's been a while since we've had units that could take life and death very well, and here we are. So go ahead and put on the reposition, keep the Gale Force, keep the Blazing Durandal, life and death 3, desperation 3, and, you know, whatever, I prefer Goad Cavalry, but, you know, whatever horsey buff you want to have. This makes him very frail. He needs to have defense. He needs to have somebody running point for him. But when it comes down to it, after you get that first round done, once he starts getting desperation running, once he gets Gale Force going off repeatedly, he's a machine. He just chews through things. I mean, take a look at that stat line. You know, we're at 106 wins whenever we're vanilla, but once we get even just one buff, one goad, we're at 134, which is amazing. Just think about what you're going to get if you have a couple of goads, or if you have a hone and a goad, or even just a hone. It's going to buff this up even more. You're going to have some really impressive values, but like I said, this is not for the faint of heart. This makes him very thin. If we want to see something that doesn't make him so thin, here's the nice little defensive team recommendation. We're going to go ahead and remove any assist skill, because unless it's drag back, all it's going to do is give your opponent an easy win. So let's just go ahead and throw it away altogether. You can go ahead and put Fury 3 on him, Desperation 3, keep that. What we're trying to do here is give us just enough oomph that we can survive a hit and make the opponent regret it, or, you know what, make them overcommit and have to use 2 of theirs to be able to take us out. And hopefully you have enough units around there that it just makes it a gambit that they lose. So when it comes down to it, defensive teams, you don't always need to have this hero win, but you need to make sure that it's hard to remove them, and honestly Fury does a great job of that. Plus, you could just use this build on offense as well, and it's going to perform well. You're going to be accelerating into desperation because of Fury. You don't need to do any other cute tricks along that wavelength. And you know what, while you're not going to get as high a kills on offense, it's still going to be just fine. You're going to trigger Gale Force, you're going to be slaughtering things. It's quite enjoyable. And hey, do me a favor, if I give you something to chew on, hit that like button. If you like your Fire Emblem information, hot and fresh and grandma's cookies, hit that subscribe button. My name is Deltran. Thank you guys so much. I greatly appreciate all of you. Until next time.